the use case of automated intelligent remediation, for which we are going to use the Dynatrace AI-powered observability to identify the problems within your environment and to remediate using various Red Hat products like Red Hat AMQ Streams, Red Hat Fuse, Red Hat Decision Manager, and Ansible. And also we are going to integrate with ServiceNow to open tickets and close them once the problem is resolved. So let's look at the architecture. So we have Dynatrace One agent running on the OpenShift container platform, which is um, looking at identifying various problems which could happen at a different point in time. So for this use case, we are using a simple service. We will be exposing a route, and to simulate the service failure, we will be deleting that route. And then once that problem is identified by Dynatrace, it will push a message via webhooks to a Kafka topic, which in turn will be read via Red Hat Fuse, which will in turn talk to Red Hat Decision Manager to identify what is the next step in the process. So here the first step would be to open a ServiceNow ticket, which Red Hat Fuse will go and open a ServiceNow ticket once the problem is identified as an open problem, depending on the status and the type. And then once that is done, Red Hat Fuse goes back and talks to Decision Manager to identify what will be the next step. And that is to solve the problem, it has to invoke an Ansible playbook, which will in turn go back and create that route. And once that route is created, Dynatrace identifies that the problem has been resolved, and it sends a message back onto the Kafka topic for Red Hat Fuse to pick it up and update the ticket which it opened earlier in ServiceNow and update the comments back in Dynatrace. So let's get into the actual working of this demo. Let's look at so the various components like I talked about are ServiceNow, a Decision Manager from Red Hat Fuse, Red Hat Ansible, Red Hat AMQ Streams, and Dynatrace, which is going to identify the problems and send the notifications that there is a problem which has happened. So this is the ServiceNow page where all the incidents will be logged once they are received that there is a problem. Red Fuse will go ahead and open an incident in ServiceNow. Uh, let's look at the Dynatrace One agent, which is deployed onto the OpenShift container platform, which is monitoring all the applications, all the running applications on the platform, and any problems that arise within those within those applications are communicated back to Dynatrace. Uh, then we have Dynatrace. So in Dynatrace, so there are a couple of things which we have to do in Dynatrace. The first step is to set up integration between Dynatrace and the uh, Kafka bus, where Dynatrace will be sending the problem notifications. So we go into settings, we go into problem integration and then problem notification. So as you can see here, we have defined or created a custom integration. So there are other types of integrations which you can do directly from here. Uh, but the way we are doing it is custom integration where the message is put onto a Kafka bus, which makes it more flexible and extensible in the long run. So yes, and this is, so we are configuring it. This is the uh, route, or this is the route to the bridge, the Kafka bridge, which is defined in the OpenShift container platform. We'll just take a look at it. And then the next step is we are saying what all as part of the problem message or problem notification we need, like what all properties. So we definitely want some metadata regarding the problem and the state of the problem and some problem details, which maybe we can send it to a Kafka topic or ServiceNow, or we can put it into Splunk or Elasticsearch, anywhere you want it to be. Um, so once we define this, this is the payload which is going to come onto a Kafka topic, which will be read by Fuse, and based on the state and some other metadata, it will pass it on to Decision Manager to identify what should be the next step. The next part here is what we are doing is, let me go into synthetic. So this is the monitoring which we have defined, which will simulate an application not being available. So this is an HTTP endpoint which Dynatrace will be monitoring. This is the URL, and let me see if I can go here. As you can see, this is running right now. This is just displaying different types of peers from various countries. So Dynatrace is monitoring this endpoint, and once this endpoint goes down, Dynatrace will wait for about a few minutes, and if it doesn't come back up on its own, it will send out a notification onto the Kafka bus saying that there is a problem. So now let's look at, yeah, so this is the application URL or the route which we have defined. It's the same one which I just showed you, just add peer and you get the same result. So it is monitoring this endpoint. So later I'll show you, I'm just going to delete this endpoint and how the whole flow will work. And here we have a Kafka cluster. This is my Kafka cluster. And then I have a Kafka bridge, which I was talking to you about, where the messages from Dynatrace via webhooks will come to the bridge, which in turn will put it on a Kafka topic. The Kafka topic we are using is Dynatrace problem notify. And Fuse will pick up messages from this particular topic. And then quickly look at the applications. So we have basically three applications for this particular use case. One is the Fuse application, which is our orchestration integration layer. Then we have Red Hat Decisions Manager, which is the rules engine, which does the identification of what needs to happen next, which application needs to be invoked, what action should be taken, so on and so forth. And then we have the Ansible application, which basically runs the Ansible playbook, which will in turn create the route in the container platform, OpenShift container platform. You can see this pod is currently showing as blue, which means it is running. The other pods are not. The simple reason for that is these are serverless applications. So they are event driven and they come up as needed. So once the request comes into Fuse, Fuse will try to communicate with Red Hat Decision Manager, the rules engine, which will in turn trigger off the application starting up, processing the request, and then going to sleep again. So this is really helpful where you know the applications will not be running all the time. And of course, we can convert this integration layer also into a serverless application. So for demonstration purposes, I've just tried to keep one as a regular app and others as serverless applications. And we'll look at it in real time and we reach that stage. This is the template which we will be executing, and you can see this is again a YAML which is stored in my what do you call it, GitHub, which will be executed by Ansible to create that route. So let's quickly look at Dynatrace and see. So right now there is no outage for this endpoint. As you can see, this is uh, colored like purple and says the availability is 100%. So what I'm going to do is quickly go here and delete the route. So there you go. I have deleted the route, and we will give Dynatrace a few minutes to identify that the problem has been resolved, and it will send a notification on the Kafka topic for Red Hat Fuse to pick it up and process further. So once the message comes into Red Hat Fuse, it will start talking to Red Hat Decision Manager to identify what the next step would be, and then you will, or you should see these pods start to scale up from 0 to 1 or whatever number it is needed based on the load. So let's wait for a few minutes. So as you can see, the problem has been identified and Dynatrace has already sent out a message on the Kafka topic, which was picked up by the integration layer, and it just started scaling the appropriate pods, requesting services from those pods. And let's look at what's going on with ServiceNow. So let me refresh. So we can see an incident was created with ending with 137. Let's go back and let's look at the route. So the route has also been created. So essentially in the next few minutes, Dynatrace will identify that the problem has been resolved and will send out a resolution message to the Kafka topic for Red Hat Fuse to pick it up and process. So right now it still feels that there is an outage, and I think within the next minute or so it should be able to resolve it. Just give it a few minutes. So as you can see, in the meantime, the pods which were not required have started scaling down because there is no more request for them to process. So they will just relinquish all the resources and scale down to zero. And also we can look at, so this is the template that was executed. It has gone ahead and created that route, which led to the resolution of the problem. And let's see if Dynatrace, there you go. As you can see, the problem has now been resolved. If I go into the topology, you'll see the decision manager rules engine coming up. Fuse wants to know what should be the next course of action for this particular request. So once it is resolved, it will go ahead and update ServiceNow ticket with the relevant information. So I think it's still processing. Yeah, just to quickly show you what it would look like is this is the state when the problem was created. This is when it was resolved, and some comments about the resolution notes about the problem, what had happened. And also, if we go back into Dynatrace and look at the problems which have been closed, I think it will also include those comments saying that the ServiceNow ticket uh, for this particular incident was closed. So with this, you can see how it's a closed loop where with the AI observability of Dynatrace and other Red Hat middleware products, how we are able to identify and remediate the problem without any manual intervention. That's all from my side. Thank you very much for watching.